Dear brothers and sisters, this is a homily for second Sunday of Lent, Year C. On this Sunday, we are celebrating the Transfiguration of our Lord Jesus Christ. Where, how, and why does this Transfiguration take place? In which way are we transfigured in our Christian life today? These are some of the guiding questions that will help us to meditate and contemplate more on the Word of God on this second Sunday of Lent. In a more detailed way, Jesus took Peter, James, and John to go up to the mountain. Moreover, while on top of the mountain, there are two important events that took place, namely prayer and transfiguration. First, prayer. Prayer as a dialogue with God is so much emphasized in the Gospel according to St. Luke. In fact, Jesus is seen on several occasions praying before doing something important. For example, after his baptism, Jesus was praying, then the Holy Spirit descended on him, followed by the voice from heaven. Luke chapter 3, verse 21 to 22. Secondly, he went alone to pray on the mountain, then afterwards he chose the 12. Luke chapter 6, verse 12 to 16. Again, he prayed in the Garden of Agony to have strength to face his passion. Luke chapter 23, verse 34 and 46. Lastly, in this passage, he was praying, then afterwards there was transfiguration of his face, and his clothes became brilliant. Indeed, this confirms the importance of prayer first to Christ and to us as his followers. Prayer is to seek God's presence in our daily life. As St. Augustine says, seek God to find him so that we may seek him more. During this Lent, prayer is one of the three pillars that we are encouraged to cultivate, practice, and live it. Prayer is the apex of the mountain that each and every one of us is called to reach during this Lenten period. The second event that is witnessed on top of the mountain was the Transfiguration of Jesus Christ. This means that the face of Jesus Christ changed and his clothes became as brilliant as lightning. But how does this come about? Without fear of contradiction, this happens as a result of prayer. In other words, transfiguration is the fruit of prayer. Indeed, the fruit of prayer transforms and changes our life as Christians. See how Abraham changed his home to the land of Canaan, and how he was transformed from being fatherless to be a father of many nations. In fact, transfiguration is possible with faith in God. On the other hand, what is the significance of this transfiguration? There are several reasons as to why transfiguration could have happened. 1, to fortify the faith of his disciples. The immediate context for this transfiguration, of which Luke does not refer to it as such, is between the first announcement of his passion and the second announcement of his passion. Bearing this in mind, the disciples were uncomfortable to grasp the reality of his passion. Therefore, he took Peter, James, and John as privileged witnesses who would in turn strengthen others to accept suffering as a means to a glorious end resurrection. In a summary way, Transfiguration was a glimpse to the disciples concerning Christ's glorified humanity after his ascension. Second, Transfiguration reveals our destiny as Christians today. We are children of God through baptism, transformed by the grace that we received to be grafted on Christ. This means that our soul and body participates in the divine life, which will be achieved in perfection at the end of time. In fact, our bodies will be glorified on the day of resurrection. On the other hand, one may say that if Transfiguration reveals our destiny, it also shows us how we can attain such destiny, that is, through the beloved Son, whom we are called to listen to. We are invited to have faith in him and, of course, live according to his teachings in the gospel. How are we transformed? The first reading gives us a perfect example of a person transformed by faith in God, that is, Abraham. At the age of 75 years old, Abraham was called to go to Canaan. He obeyed. Upon reaching Canaan, there was famine. He went to Egypt, then returned later to Canaan at the age of 100 years old. At this age, God promised him many descendants. Even to make the matters worse, Sarah had passed the age of conceiving, and she was barren, of course. Despite all this up and down in the life of Abraham, he had faith in God, hence transformed. Do we have faith like that of Abraham? Finally, the reactions of the disciples about this transfiguration fascinate sometimes. First, they are overcome by sleep while Jesus is praying. Sleep in this context means lack of consciousness. That is why Peter didn't know what he was talking about. During this Lenten period, let us also wake up, trust in God, read and meditate his word, and above all, reconcile with one another. All in all, the appearance of Moses and Elijah is significant because Moses represents the Torah, whereas Elijah represents the Old Testament prophets that find fulfillment in the person of Jesus Christ. To conclude, during this Lent, may Christ transform our minds and our hearts to understand and love him more and more. Amen. Have a blessed Sunday.